You are listening to the Real Housewives of the Kingdom podcast. I'm your host, Caroline Rogers. In this sweet space, you'll hear from women who are like you and some that are not. We will talk about how God is walking with us through the good and the hard on subjects like marriage, homemaking, friendships, ministry, parenting, and seeking God. You will also hear from me, sharing what God is doing in my own heart. The enemy of our souls wants us to feel alone, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So if you are like me and need that reminder, join us as we laugh and cry together, giving God the glory through the stories of our lives. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Housewives of the Kingdom. Today is one of my favorite episodes that I do every single year when I get to have my favorite guest of all time on.
Who's that?
You!
Me!
My hubby, Kevin Rogers.
Woo!
Welcome,
Thank
hubby.
you.
Welcome to the
Glad
podcast.
to be here.
We like to do a anniversary episode every year and just kind of like recap on what's been going on in our marriage and things that we're thinking about and things God's teaching us, because we like to just share that with you if we can.
A whole lot of fun, that's what.
That is what's going on. We do have so much fun, and that's a key. Keep having fun. So we, last year on our 20th, we had ultimately hoped to go back to Paris because we honeymooned in Paris and we went back 10 years later. So on our 20th, we really hoped we would make it back to Paris, but it was just impossible.
Well, at least it was impossible in September.
Yes, exactly. So we also had some pretty big birthdays this summer. I turned 40 and my hubby turned 50.
That old guy.
And so we just decided, we got an opportunity. My hubby had a point that he could take a little break from work, and he had some hours that he could take, vacation time he could take off. And so we went for it, and we decided to not only celebrate our 40th and 50th birthdays, but why not still be celebrating our anniversary? Because
Heck yeah.
we're still in our 20th anniversary year.
Day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So we decided to go to Europe. We did make it back to Paris, spoiler alert, but we decided to call it our Homeland Tour.
The Homeland Tour. Homeland Tour consisted of going back to Ireland and Scotland for my heritage, and Germany and the Netherlands for Caroline's heritage, and then, of course, Paris for our anniversary extravaganza.
And it was a whirlwind tour. We were gone for 2 weeks, and that started the day after my brother's wedding, which was incredible. We are so excited about our new sister, Ashley. She is precious.
She is, and their wedding was amazing.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. And we literally left the next day after the wedding, and so it was just it was very exciting, but we definitely fit a lot into a little bit of time.
It was a lot. I don't necessarily recommend it. It was a blast to do, but man, was it tiring. Our feet were so sore.
We averaged around 15 miles a day walking, which is a lot, especially because with our new jobs. Yeah, we didn't rent a car. We did take trains or boats at different times.
Trains, planes,
and automobiles. No, we didn't take automobiles.
Trains, planes, and boats.
We didn't get in any. One time we took one Uber when we were in Scotland. We took one Uber to the beach, but that was it. And it was just a little too far to get to otherwise. And we had a very limited time. That being said, one of the cool things that my hubby found when he was in Dublin, if you haven't looked at my Instagram or seen our faces, my hubby is a redhead, and I love it.
And there is no lack of redheads in Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah, he saw so many. We were like, here they are. They're all here. So that was kind of fun. And I mean, honestly, if you are a Harry Potter fan, Edinburgh, Scotland is a must go.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a beautiful city in general. I mean, the whole city is just old and
amazing architecture.
Yeah, full of culture, of Scotland, and I mean, just magical. The whole thing felt magical. I just couldn't even believe every turn, every little alleyway felt like you were on a movie set. somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It was just
Looks so
so
cool.
incredible. And one of the cool things when we went to Hamburg, Germany, which is where my great grandma is from, my great grandma and grandpa actually were both from there. And her mom was named Caroline, and she named her daughter Caroline. So my great grandma was Mina, and she named her daughter Caroline after her mom. And that is my grandma. And my mom named her daughter after her mom. So it was kind of cool to go there. My great grandma Mina came over to America via Ellis Island on a ship when she was 18 years old with $17 in her pocket, single. And I just find it so brave. And it was really cool because while we were there, we found that there was this church that she had been christened in 1894. And the
Church still stands?
Yes.
The christening bowl still stands?
And the church was built in 1893. So it was brand new when she was christened there, but it was so cool and it was open. We were able to just like walk inside, and I have that photo of her right after she was christened. I never met her personally, but I was very close to my grandma, her daughter. And so it was just really cool to be there at part of my, huge part of my heritage being in that city. So that was really fun. And the Netherlands, of course, we went to Amsterdam, which isn't technically where my family was from, but it was really beautiful, and the architecture and the food and the fun and the people. But it was for sure a whirlwind tour. I mean, most cities we were there for maybe one full day and then a half a day, whether that was on the in or on the out.
Right.
And we did flights most of the time, which in Europe, if you don't know, you can fly really easy and actually cheap. Like our flight from Dublin to Scotland was 13 euros, which is, around $15 basically.
And we, other than booking our hotels and our flights, and we didn't overly pre-plan, which was good in a way and bad in a way. There were a couple things that we would have loved to have seen that we should have bought tickets for, like Edinburgh Castle was sold out.
Or the Corrie ten Boom House.
Corrie ten Boom House was closed. They were there.
And Frank House.
Frank House was sold out. And just various things that we didn't know. But it's so hard when you do the research. What comes up is very, very commercial. You try to research events, and specific concerts come up through Eventbrite and things like that, where you're like, well, that was kind of looking for a little bit more of the hometown feel.
Yeah, the actual local stuff. And we did come across some really cool local stuff. So, and we kind of wanted it to be that way. One of our favorite places in the world is Disney World. And we love Epcot Park, and we love the World Showcase there. If you don't know, if you haven't been there, it is a section of the park that has each country represented.
About 11 countries.
11 countries, and each of them are represented with food and shops, and sometimes there's a ride or a show that you watch in the country, and it literally looks like you stepped into that country, a little small version of that country. Mm-hmm. Often the people who work in that country are from that country, speak that language, and it's a place that we've always loved. And so we kind of feel like the way we did Europe was our Epcot tour. We popped in, we shopped a little, we had some food and some drinks, and saw the sights and popped into another country. Oh, yeah. So that was an incredible experience. Now we took a bullet train from Amsterdam to Paris, and that was pretty cool. We could make it there in 2.5 hours, which is pretty quick. And we went back to Disneyland Paris. And of course, we honeymooned in Paris 20 years ago.
Again, like she said before, we went there about our 10th year, not exactly on our 10th anniversary either.
We spent New Year's there at the base of the Eiffel Tower, and it had changed a lot. Actually, the city, I felt like there was a lot of changes around the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. You can no longer walk directly underneath it unless you have a ticket to go in. It's kind of all walled off, and it was not like that 10 years ago. No. So that was kind of interesting to see that. But we did make it to Disneyland Paris, which we absolutely love. And it was cool because when we were on our honeymoon, we did not stay on property at Disneyland Paris. There are several people.
A little pricey.
Yes, and the people in our lives who wanted us, who were
gifting us things like our hotel stay for our honeymoon, just thought it was very important we didn't stay at Disney. And it's so interesting because I think back and I think, man, should have just let us stay at Disney. We would have loved it. But ultimately, so we stayed there now because we can. And we ended up staying at a hotel that we ate at on our honeymoon and said when we were there, oh, I wish we could stay here. So
Sequoia Lodge. A lot like Disney's California Adventure, if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, the Grand Californian. So it was really incredible, and we got to be in the parks, and it was just, it was absolutely magical. That's where I turned 40, and so on my 40th birthday, we actually spent some of the day in Disney, and then we headed off into Paris, where we had a room with a view of Arc de Triomphe, which I was not expecting.
No, very unexpected. Well, we were close by, so
we
it
knew
wasn't
we were
out
close.
of the question.
Yeah, but often we weren't paying enough to have a view. So I often think they're going to put you in the back with a view of the alleyway. But we had a view of the Arc de Triomphe. I mean, you kind of had to lean out the window to see it, but you could still see it.
With
Yeah, exactly. And so it was magical. Of course, never enough time in Paris. There's just so much to see and so much to do, and we just love being in that city.
It's the city of Paris. Actually, there's enough to get to in only a few miles of walking. So love jumping into the culture, getting some French food, and just enjoying the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and
just walking by the Seine. It's just, it's so magical. The little cafes that are just tucked into some alleyway and cobblestone streets. I mean, it just is one of our favorite places in the world to be. So we never get tired of it.
Never.
And I guess I have to say, like, I'm sure the people who had an opinion about us not staying at Disney just wanted to make sure we would actually see Paris. But honestly, I have to say, Disney has been such a huge part of our lives and something that we love to do. And so I don't think that's bad either. For me, being at Disney Paris is part of the culture, and I love that. So
yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Had a great time. And we spent a couple of days so that we didn't feel the rush of trying to get everything done. And we didn't feel like we had to get everything done. Yep. There are rides there that are similar to either Florida or California. So we didn't feel like we had to do absolutely everything.
Yep, exactly. But it was wonderful. It was just wonderful to be back. And Now, we did have some very exciting events that happened on the flight home. So we were flying from Gatwick, which is London's kind of smaller airport, back to LAX. And it was kind of a crazy day checking in. There wasn't enough people checking in.
They were short staffed, so they were behind schedule, so they had to delay the flight.
Yep, there was our flight and another flight flying to San Francisco, so it was really crazy. We barely were able to grab just a cup of coffee and a muffin before getting on our flight. But one upside was we could not afford to upgrade ahead of time to premium class.
They didn't have first class or business class, but they had premium class.
And so we couldn't afford to do that. But once we got on, they actually offered a premium upgrade for much, 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 much less while we were on
the price.
Yeah, and so we decided to go for it. Yeah. So we had, for our flight home, we did have seats that reclined and a little more space, and so it was definitely, that was kind of a fun part. But we were on the flight and we start taking off and it's raining and storming and we're kind of we haven't even leveled off yet. No. And we suddenly get struck by lightning.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh. It was so crazy.
You could have sworn the plane was getting ripped into pieces. It sounded like metal rippling.
Yeah, it was a loud boom. The whole plane shook. It was crazy. And we look over and there was a couple sitting next to us who were from Irvine, California. And he looked at us and he said, "Oh, these planes are made for lightning," super calm. And we were like, wow, that's crazy. Are they made for lightning?
There wasn't a word from the staff for about a half hour. It was a little
Yeah.
crazy. Not the pilot, not the crew, nobody.
And then we see one steward runs from the back to the front, and he's using these giant hand gestures to the stewardesses and stewards in the front. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like what is happening? You know, and we didn't plummet to the water. So we were kind of like, okay, like, I mean, we're obviously somewhat okay. But then the pilot comes on very calmly, as pilots always do. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to keep you waiting, but that was lightning that hit us. And while we don't detect any kind of issues, Gatwick has suggested that we fly back. I mean, just very much like that. And then he's like, we're going to be in a holding pattern. And we'll be back with you shortly and let you know more.
Yeah, so we flew around for 3 hours while we burned off fuel.
Yeah, and that's what we found out. And the pilot came back on and kind of explained that, but they didn't explain it right away. They would not give us any food. They did give us water, but that was it. We were starving. And meanwhile, we've like upgraded to premium. So we're thinking
free food, free drinks, bring it on.
Bring something, bring us stuff, please. We just got hit by lightning. And so then, you know, then we are getting ready to land, and the pilot lets us know why we are in this holding pattern. He says, well, we just have too much fuel. We're too heavy, and that the Gatwick airport is wet. The runways are wet. So as we kind of are heading back, finally, he comes back on and he says, ladies and gentlemen, when we land back in Gatwick, you will see fire department on the ground, and I just don't want to alarm you. This is protocol. And I looked at Kevin, I'm like, is this really protocol?
And so, are they going to notify us at the last second to brace ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of expected, because I was like, would they tell us if like part of the plane was ripped off? Would they actually say something to us or not? And so, so we're just like, so we recorded a little video, just like what our thoughts were right in the moment. And then when we landed, we actually did see like so many fire trucks. They landed us on a runway that was like way outside of the airport, like far, far from the airport. And sure enough, we landed fine. Fire department came, went all around the plane. They finally taxied us to this other area.
They let us off, and we got off on one side of the plane, and I looked up at the plane. Didn't appear to be any damage. We get on the bus. We go around the other side of the plane. No damage that we could see.
Yeah. But they said, we're going to need to get a new plane. We're going to need to get a new crew. And so they said, we're going to take you back to the airport. Now, at this point, we've realized that we've watched this pilot of a TV show called Manifest, where these people, they get struck by lightning, and they come
back 5.5 years later.
Yeah. So we were like, everybody check what year it is when we get into the airport, because it felt very ominous. It was
very weird.
Yeah, the whole thing was ominous, especially after getting struck flying around for 3 hours in a circle. We were flying in a circle.
Big circle.
Big circle, but a circle nonetheless. So it just felt like we're just seeing the same thing over and over and over and over.
Now, granted, this is 6 hours from the time that we were originally supposed to take off.
Yes.
We're just now landing back at Gatwick.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy. And so we get in, and they kind of say, well, just, you know, check the monitors. And so they said at 7:15 p.m. Now our flight was supposed to leave at 10:30 a.m. Mm-hmm. And they said at 7:15 p.m., look at the monitors. So we go get some dinner, and we kind of let our families know, you know, what happened. Just said, hey, our plane got struck by lightning, but we're okay. And then we check the monitor, and they give us our gate, and we head on, and we fly home. Yeah. But it was
about 10, 11 hours after we were originally supposed to.
Yeah. And so that was our super exciting end to our trip. And it's kind of funny because Kevin, from the time I met him, was always like, I've always wanted to feel like what it would be like to be struck by lightning.
I want to experience all that life has to offer. And if being struck by lightning is one of those things, I'm all in. And, well, I guess that's off the list now.
Yeah, I was like, thank you, Lord, for checking that off the bucket list and letting us live to tell the tale. I think neither of us were really afraid. I think I was more afraid, like if something in the landing gear was broken, like I was more afraid of like surviving a landing that could be really painful. I don't know.
I'm not afraid of dying. I don't know. I'm not afraid of dying. Just pain in
just
general.
the pain. Yeah, I was like, how's it gonna go? So anyway, so that was exciting, fun. We made it home safe and sound, and enjoyed our upgrade, our super cheap upgrade to the comfortable seats.
Finally got the food and the drinks, and the treatment was so good.
Yeah, lifted our legs up on our little like reclining seats.
But of course, we landed back in LAX 11 hours after we were supposed to, so that made it a very late night drive.
Yeah, home. And if you don't know, we live about 3.5 hours north of LA. So we decided to actually just drive home, even though it was like 1 o'clock in the morning by the time we got to our car. So because we just thought, well, we better do it because we're actually kind of awake right now. And so, oh man, it was crazy. I think we got to bed about 5 a.m. that day. So California time. But that was our trip. It was really fun.
Hey guys, it's Kevin
and Caroline
Rogers.
As you probably know by now, we love our marriage and are so passionate about giving others the tools they need to truly have a joyful marriage.
It breaks our hearts to know the divorce rate, whether you are a Christian or not, is 50%.
Yikes.
We also know that nobody gets married and hopes to have a divorce.
Exactly. This is why we feel God has given us the motivation to equip as many couples as possible before walking down the aisle.
On our 20th wedding anniversary, we launched an online premarital course. We share our own experiences as well as what God's Word says about marriage.
In it, we go over 5 cornerstones of a healthy, God-honoring marriage and give you tangible tips on how to walk in it. You'll have over 5 hours of video teaching from us, along with downloadable resources to take into your marriage.
We have always loved our marriage and want you to love yours too. If you're getting married and would love to have some great tools to take into marriage, join us today for the course.
Hey, even if you know anyone who is getting married, be sure to share this info with them. Link to the course is in the show notes or on our website, marriedrogersneighborhood.com.
While you're busy planning your wedding,
don't forget to plan your marriage. Join us and learn how to thrive and not just survive.
But now we are wrapping up our 20-year celebration and gearing up for 21!
21! On our anniversary can drink in a way.
I know, it's old enough to drink. Imagine that. And in some places it can rent a car.
Right. Just for slightly more.
For slightly higher rate.
Slightly higher rate.
And so our anniversary is a week from today. And we are looking forward to celebrating 21 years of being married.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to do on the day as of yet. We'll find something to do, but then within that year, we will definitely make plans. And just to reiterate, we've said that before, but don't get your mind so set on celebrating that day. Celebrate the event and make time for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And even if you go back and listen to our 20th anniversary episode, we'll talk about the fact that we would have loved to go back to Paris at that point. And I was honestly, I was a little bit sad that we couldn't do something bigger. I know it's kind of weird. The big, like the even years or the 20, 25, 30 are like these milestones. And last year we went to San Francisco and saw the Harry Potter play, which was honestly fun. San Francisco's a couple of hours away from us, but I have to confess that I did on the initial feel a little bit bummed. Like I'd hoped on 20 we would do something a little bit bigger. Yeah. And we had a great time. We also went to a really great little French restaurant in our town on our anniversary, which was like in the middle of the week, but it was so great. So, I mean, honestly, now having been able to go to Europe and celebrate kind of at the tail end of the anniversary celebration year was just wonderful. And it just goes to show that, you never know what opportunities God has around the corner for you.
And our anniversary coincides with the anniversary of Disneyland Paris. Our honeymoon was their 10th. Our 20th was their our 10th was their 20th, and right now our 20th was their 30th. So yeah, definitely cool to coincide with that.
Yeah, and so it's definitely great, and but now we're about to turn 21 in 1 week, and we are looking forward to see what God has for that. This year, we are getting ready to start a small group at our church, which we're excited about, with some young married couples. And as you know, it's something that we love to do.
Very passionate about.
We love to encourage marriages. And I mean, one thing, and you can think about what is kind of in the back of your mind, but what's in the back of my mind in terms of like things that I've been learning lately and like in our marriage, what I would want to communicate to anyone listening who just wants some encouragement in their marriage is, just the fact that you have to always be willing to learn about each other and grow. I think there's a lot of people who think they know their spouse so well, and sometimes they use that as a weapon against them, or and those kind of things are just it just doesn't ever help. It's that just keeps a wedge between you. There's almost like a competition between spouses,
right?
And sometimes that can happen when you've been married a little bit or a long bit. But that is something that is just kind of in the back of my mind that I've seen, that I feel like we have both done throughout our marriage, is kind of be willing to learn about each other.
Yeah, well, not only that, but listen, hey, if you're going to sit there and hold somebody accountable for your birthday, your anniversary, when you haven't, it's possible that somebody's going through something and they need a little grace. So my wife makes it a point of a month out, a week out, a day out of saying, "Oh, I'm so excited for my birthday. I'm so excited for our anniversary." There's not going to be that chance where it's going to be forgotten. Now, we'll also don't have the expectation of receiving a large gift on that day, because our thing is all about the experiences and the memories that we make. So we plan things together. Now, we do surprises every once in a while, which is always fun and exciting and sweet and romantic, etc., etc. So don't ever quit doing that. Keep that up if you can. But give each other some grace and communicate about what your hopes and desires and expectations are, and plan your events and the excitement and the memories.
Well, and even going beyond like events and things, big holidays, even your day in, day out, it's so important, I think, to just remember that you're constantly learning about each other and through life's changes. I mean, like right now, we've lived now in our new city for a little over a year, but we're still adjusting. We're still adjusting to the difference of living here, the proximity of where we are to things that maybe we used to do regularly that we can't do regularly anymore. Proximity to certain people we're not close to anymore. Even how our schedules are growing and changing. I mean, when we got here, I didn't have a job, but my hubby did. And then I got a job, and recently my job kind of expanded a little bit. And so every day is kind of like, you kind of have to assess and, look at what's going on and have some grace for your spouse, and make sure you're both on that same page of kind of having this humility and always being willing to learn about each other.
And check in if you've got questions, if you've got concerns, if you need to get something off your chest. Don't wait until it blows up and then you have an argument on your hands. Talk about it, express yourself, and
prioritizing spending time together.
Exactly.
And I know that is not easy. And I'm here to tell you, it will never be easy to slice that time out for each other. There's going to be somebody who will be disappointed. There will be something that you will have to sacrifice to do that. But I am also here to tell you that it is a worth it sacrifice.
Worth it.
Yes.
Jobs will come and go. Friends will come and go. But your marriage, that should remain strong. The two shall become one flesh. You guys are one. We, Caroline Rogers and Kevin Rogers, are one. And we have to separate at times to go do work, but in our mind, in our hearts, in our spirits, we are one, and we are one, and with God being the center of our marriage.
And not letting other things kind of slip in importance over that is really a key. I think that has helped our marriage to thrive. The other thing being that we pray together every day. And I'm sorry if you feel like we are harping on that a lot, but we will continue to harp on it if you're going to continue to listen to podcasts. It works. I mean, like,
it bonds you, ties you together.
Ties you to God.
Where two or more are gathered in my name, I should be among them. So we feel that when we are praying together, that Jesus is sitting there with us, and
his spirit
amazing.
lives in us. But the act of prayer is like so cool when you come with your spouse, because you're coming together with a common ask for the Lord. And that is, you're asking in faith when you're coming together to ask him. And it doesn't even have to be anything major. You might not be asking for anything major, but day in, day out, talking to God with your spouse is so important, as is reading God's word together. Because that is the other thing, like we can get hard-nosed, we can get, very prideful, we can get in a way that makes us feel like, no, we know what's best, we know what's right. We see some of the things and pursuits that are important to us as more important than the ones that our spouse has importance on. And, this is not something that is going to change. You will always come against these things throughout your entire marriage, but that's why you have to continually kind of be reassessing and assessing and being open to being humble and just learning about your spouse. Yes, exactly. And remember too, when you are going through times of transition, like we are right now, and even other times I can think about, when my dad was in the hospital, or maybe you have someone you love in the hospital, maybe you have a new life circumstance, a health circumstance, whatever it is. Just remember to have a lot more grace for each other in those times when we are adjusting to new things. It can be really difficult, and it will just be such a blessing if both you and your spouse can remember that, to have extra grace during those times, and extra communication during those times. And I think that is just a really sweet way to keep humble and to just stay as one throughout changing circumstances.
Make sure you get that time together. So even if your job is very, very demanding, make sure that your weekends you set aside. And if you got to do some family events on one of the days, or you have to do you're involved in your church, that's great. Make sure one of those 2 days, whether you take the full day on Saturday to just even lay around the house together, spend that time together as a couple.
And I mean, maybe you have a project at your house that you're doing, and the project needs to get done. Do it together. Try as much as you can to not do things separately or think separately. The world will tell you that is the way, that you're independent, that you need to pursue your own happiness and make things happen for yourself. But as believers, when you have God the center of your marriage, then you pursue things together, and you want to pursue God things. So and that doesn't necessarily mean even something that's happening at church, but God wants your marriage to reflect his love for society. And that is the best way that you can do it.
Yeah.
All right, baby. Well, we are getting ready to close here, but would you read this scripture in Philippians 2:1-4?
Yes, I will. Therefore, if there is any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by being like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interests of others.
I love that scripture, and I just think it perfectly says exactly how we should approach marriage. When Jesus says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light, that is how you do it. You do things the way that Jesus did them. And when you approach your marriage in that way, you will find joy in serving each other. And that's the thing that I want to continue to pursue as we move into 21 years. I want to say, I don't want to say that I know everything about you or about marriage. I don't want to say that I'm a marriage expert or that, that I know that all there is to know. I want to learn more. I want to have a more soft heart. I want to have a more humble heart. I want to get my way less. And I want us to just shine Jesus' love for everybody.
More.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to our 21st anniversary episode.
It would!
Woohoo!
All right, friends, that's it for today. I'm so thankful you joined us and hope it spurs you on to encourage someone else. You can find and interact with me at Real Housewives of the Kingdom on both Instagram and Facebook, and my website, marriedrogersneighborhood.com, which is linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would really appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast wherever you are listening. Just remember, we're in this together. God loves you, and you are not alone. See you next time.